Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all those who joined us from across the world. I'm your host, Anish Krishnan, Head of Marketing at QKS Group. And once again, I welcome you all to today's session on redefining identity governance insights from Spark Matrix 2025 and Omada's leadership. Once again, thank you all for joining us. I know it's for some of you, it's early in the morning, some of you, it's late in the night. Once again, thank you all for joining us. Today's insightful session we'll be presenting on as identity becomes the new security parameter, organizations are facing growing challenges: fragmented governance, excessive access privileges, cloud complexities, and mounting regulatory pressures. Identity governance and administration is no longer just a compliance checkbox. It is a strategic pillar of modern security and a foundation element of zero trust. In today's analyst-led session, we'll explore how IGA market evolved in 2025, what good governance truly looks like in 2026, and what difference leading platforms in lifecycle management, access intelligence, and compliance readiness. We'll also share some key insights on QKS Group's Spark Matrix 2025 valuation and examine why Omada is positioned as a leader in this space. I'm pleased to welcome Sophia Ali, Associate Director, Principal Analyst at QKS Group. Along with Sophia, we have Paul Walker with 25 plus years of experience, a field entity. Together, they will both provide research-driven market perspective and real-world practitioner insights on the future of identity governance. We encourage all our attendees to drop in your Q&A or questions in the Q&A section that you see below, and we'll surely answer those towards the end of the session. With that, let's get started, and over to you, Sophia.
Yeah, thank you, Anish, and hello, everyone. So we can move to next slide as Anish has introduced the title on what we are speaking about. So in today's webinar, we are going to speak about our IGA market. And with this slide, I would just like to emphasize like what changes we have seen in identity governance and administration market in last year, which is 2025. So we have seen big shifts from periodic manual access reviews to continuous and risk-based identity governance. When we say this, initially or traditionally, the access review was done with 3 or 6 months of time frame, and now organizations are demanding continuous and risk-based identity governance so that they can identify the identity risk beforehand and before it can impact the organization in a later stage. And then we have rapid growth of cloud, SaaS, and hybrid environment, increasing identity sprawls. So identity sprawls means identity is everywhere. There is so much of identity which is need to be managed by IAM professionals. So as we know that organizations are moving toward cloud, they are putting their businesses on cloud, they are utilizing SaaS applications, they are using on-prem and cloud combination as a hybrid environment. So it becomes very difficult for the identity team to manage the access, to give the access to users, to tools, and to manage it continuously and control it. And this becomes identity sprawl for the team. The next is rising number of non-human identities, driving governance complexity. So as with the advancement of AI tools, ChatGPT, other tools, and maybe API keys, CI/CD pipeline tokens, or bots, we have non-human identities that is adding up into an organization with the human identities. And if you are not managing those kind of identity, it become difficult and it become a new attack surface for the organization. So to provide a proper access to those identities of non-human is very important in today's world. Next is increasing regulatory and audit pressures, which require which is requiring a provable compliance and access accountability. So now organizations audit team are becoming strict. They want to analyze the access and identity from very initial stage. They want to know like what access has been given to certain human or non-human identities, why it has been given, at what time frame it has been given, for what time it has been given, and or whether it has been revoked after the actual task or the work that has been assigned to that person or that non-human identity is being done or not. So it become very strict nowadays, and they don't wait for 3 months or 6 months to do the reviews. This is like continuous process. The auditing and the compliance process is also continuously going on. Then we have deeper integration with IAM, PAM, SIM, ITSM to have end-to-end identity visibility. So when we say IGA, this is about governance, and it cannot work independently without integrating with other identity tools. So they are integrating with IAM for authentication and authorization. Then for privilege access, they are integrating with PAM. For cloud access, they are integrating with SIM. And for everyday workloads and security workloads, we are integrating IGA with ITSM tools, so that the organization should have an end-to-end visibility of the entire identities that is being running into their organization. And moving to the next slide, we will be having why identity governance and administration is now becoming a core of modern security. So one thing is very important in security landscape is zero trust policy. So zero trust means trust no one and verify everyone. So IGA is now a foundational component of zero trust policy, and that has become because it helps zero trust policies in establishing identity as the new security parameter. So in old days or traditionally, when an employee enters organization and it connects to the organization network, they have given access to everything. So organization network was treated as a perimeter at that time, but now identity itself is now treated as a parameter. It needs to ask various other questions. It needs to ask the behavior of the person, how they are behaving, and based on that, the identity authentication and authorization has been given to them. Then we have then IGAs also help in enforcing privilege access with continuous access validation. So again, with PAM tool integrated with IGA, the organization are trying to provide a privilege access for a certain time of a period, so that the person can do a task that is being assigned to them in a particular time, and that is being continuously monitored, and that is being revoked automatically after a time is being done for that privilege. Then lastly, we have governs who has access to what and under what conditions. So now IGA is also governing all these things, like what access has been given to whom. So I will explain this with an example. So for an example, if a finance person is trying to do a payment, so the condition is that he can only do the payment in an office hours, and he can do this payment from the office laptop and within the office network. And suddenly, if that pattern is deviating from, if he is logging at 2 a.m. from some other location and trying to do payment, then this is being flagged as malicious activity. And these kind of conditions and policies is also being defined by a IGA platform. So this is how IGA is helping into zero trust policy. And why this is becoming a key market driver is because of AI adoption. So now we are having so much of AI tools. With the tools, we are utilizing AI to increase our productivity. So everything is becoming fast. In this fast-paced environment, it has become very difficult to analyze everything and to provide access to all these systems and tools and identities. So now organizations want, because of AI adoption, organizations are continuously providing identity access, multi-factor authentication kind of things, so that any attacks that is been happening because of AI adoption should be limited and should be consumed beforehand before it impact the business. Then we have identity-based attack. So as we know, initially attacks such as DDoS, ransomware, malware attacks were in the, but now we are in a stage of where identity attack is in a very surge state into the market, as they are utilizing different techniques from phishing, smishing to other kind of things, from where they are trying to steal employee or people identity, ID, password, and all those kind of thing, and try to move laterally into the organization and try to do a malicious activity, not only on the endpoints, but on the network and on the every other impact of the enterprise. Then we have cloud expansion. So as I have mentioned that we are utilizing so much of SaaS application, multi-cloud environment, it becomes very difficult to provide access to those kind of things, like what we are utilizing on those applications, how much information we are providing to those applications. All this should be monitored before analyzing or before getting impacted with all those kind of attacks. And last is regulatory pressure. So as I have mentioned that auditors team are now becoming more stricter for auditing and regulatory, and they want to analyze the entire path of an identity, how it is working from where it has started and where it has ended. And with this, the core market challenges are hybrid complexity. As we are moving toward hybrid environment, it becomes difficult to manage the identities, access privilege. Without knowing, we are giving access privilege to the things that we shouldn't do. For example, AI tools, for example, a finance team or a HR team is getting access to other systems. Then operational overhead. So initially, without IGA platform, organization used to have so much of operational cost by manually analyzing the access reviews. And now with this continuous and one platform, which is IGA, which is providing continuous access, the organization are reducing their operational overhead. So this was about the entire IGA landscape and how it is helping into zero trust and modern security. So moving toward next slide, we are having some technology trends that are reshaping identity governance and administration platform. So AI powered access intelligence and behavioral risk scoring. So initially, the access is being given if a certain person is into a certain department. If a person is into a financial department, they have been given an access to those departments, the entire access. If they are into HR, they have given access, policies, data of the entire department. But now what IGA platform is providing is an AI powered access intelligence, which is analyzing the behavior of the identity, which is providing the risk score, what risk this identity can have if it has been given any kind of access, certain kind of access. And based on that, they are doing all this scoring and then providing the access to the identity. Then we have contextual policy automation and intelligent role mining. So again, policy is being mapped based on contextualization, like how this identity has been performed earlier, how it is being performing now, and what all other factors is being integrated into. Based on all this context and making intelligent role mining. So for example, if an HR, if uh, 10 people of HR team is there into an organization, they all have been given a same kind of privilege or the access. And if anyone is having extra kind of access, that has been removed. So this kind of role mining or intelligent role mining is being provided by IGA platforms. Then we have autonomous lifecycle automation and just-in-time access. Again, this is mostly required for the developers, for the people who require access for a certain period of time. And it is being given to them by analyzing what kind of access they want, for what need they want it, and for what time frame. And it is all being autonomous nowadays. For example, if an developer want an access to provide some patch into their application, they can get that access for a maximum of 1 week, and it is the time frame is been provided into that thing, and it is autonomously revoke that access after 1 week. So all these policies, this rules has been defined beforehand. And then we have converges with PAM and access management. Again, PAM is for privileged access. Why this access is been given, and not for the entire time frame, but for a limited time frame. So all these things is been converging, the autonomous, the AI powered thing, and PAM is been converging, and this is providing a trend for IGA that is shaping the market in coming time. So with this, I would just like to run a poll of how do you describe your organization readiness for AI-driven identity governance. So I am running this poll, and we can see, we can wait for some time so that the results can appear, and we can discuss on that as well. So, yeah. So mostly the organizations, Anish, are we getting the poll? Like,
Yeah, I can see the
yeah.
poll live.
Yes, I have got that. Yeah, correct. So yes, most of the organizations, people are saying that we are in early stage, minimal AI adoption they are doing right now. Yes, because we are seeing that AI is currently into a very initial stage, and most of them are not very aware about the functionalities what AI is offering into IGA and identity background or identity platforms. So yeah, with this slide, I hope you must have got a detailed analysis of what AI can do within your organization and how you can utilize these kind of capabilities to better protect your identities and to better protect your organization. So moving to our next slide, we have regional policies and regulatory impact on the IGA market. So as we know that various region has different policies. For example, GDPR is for Europe, and they are very strict about their data policies and data rules and consent management. So how IGA is impacting this GDPR and European market is by providing strong demand for access certification, role governance, identity audibility, and policy-based access enforcement. So moving forward, we have United States, in which HIPAA and other regulations is there, and they are mostly focusing on accelerating adoption of IGA, which is tightly integrated with PAM, risk analysis, and continuous access reviews. Then the emerging market for identity and access management is APAC. So in India, we have DPDP, and in Singapore, we have PDPA. So as this market is like very new for IGA, and they are just trying to understand what benefits they can get from these kind of policies and regulations. So they are now increasing focus on scalable IGA, cloud ready governance, and flexible policy frameworks. And for the global enterprises that are working across the globes, they need to manage not the regulations from one region, but the mix of regulation from different regions, so that they can adhere to all these regulations and policies, and they can make their business more profitable into different regions. And with this impact on IGA capabilities is to require centralized identity lifecycle management and standard rise access governance across regions. So they are providing a platform that can provide a standardized access or a standardized dashboard in which the organization can see the regulations and compliance from all the regions that they are operating into. This was about regional policies, and with this we would like to do another poll, what are the primary drivers behind your IGA strategy in 2026? So as we are running this poll, we will be seeing the results.
Well, Sophia, I just want to interrupt here and say that to all our audience, we are doing all these webinars to engage you and to provide you more insights. So we encourage all of you to show your participation by raising your question. Again, I'm just pointing it out again to all the questions that you may have. It's very hard to get Paul and Sophia on a call together like this for all of you. So shoot out your questions in the Q&A section below, and do participate in all the polls that we have, where our experts will be providing more lights to that. Thank you, Sophia. Over to you again.
Yes. So with this poll, we have understood that the organization are moving towards strengthening their zero trust architecture and also reducing identity risk and exposures. So yes, zero trust is one of the major factor on which IGA and identity framework has been made. So yes, the organization need to strengthen their zero trust architecture in coming future. So moving to next slide, we are having our Spark matrix. So I'll just run through how to read this Spark matrix and what is it all about. So it is a competitive evaluation framework that maps vendor based on technology excellence and customer impact scale. So when we talk about technology excellence, we evaluate vendor on various parameters such as breadth and depth of their offering, their key differentiating factors, their application diversity and use cases, and what is their technology vision and roadmap in coming year. And on the customer impact side, we analyze vendor based on their market presence, their use case support, their industry support, their proven records to their users, ease of use, how easy the platform is being utilized by the users. So the customer impact scale side things is being analyzed through various interviews from our end users, and the technology excellence is being analyzed by the vendors briefing, by the vendors who are submitting this, the RFI, and all those kind of detailed information we are providing into the Spark matrix graph. By analyzing all these things, we are mapping the vendors on the graph in three categories: Spark leaders, strong contenders, and aspirants. So moving to next slide, I will show you the look of how our IGA market Spark matrix looks like. So as you can see that Omada is being positioned as a Spark leader into this matrix. So Omada is being providing various differentiating and competitive factors into the market. So to start with, governance-led identity architecture. So as Omada is offering governance-led architecture, they are helping to build clear access rules and ownership so identities and permissions take control across the organization. Then we have smart and continuous role management. So Omada is automatically improving role over time by finding extra access and suggesting cleaner role structures. Then we have strong identity lifecycle automation. So here Omada helps to automate joiner, mover, and lever process. So access is granted and removed on time without manual chasing or manual analyzing the entire process. Then we have analytics that drive better decision. So Omada gives risk and access insights so team can quickly spot risky permission and take action beforehand. Then we have strong audit and compliance support, as it provides strong evidence, logs, and approval history. So audit become easier and defensible when auditing is happening into the organization. Then we have cloud native and build to scale. Omada is designed to handle large number of volumes and large number of user volumes and many apps with scalable modern deployment option. And then we have future vision focused on autonomous governance. So Omada is moving toward more automated self-updating governance where the system records and enforce safer access with less manual work. So from reducing manual work, moving toward automation and providing a better platform for the auditors, Omada is doing all those things into a one single IGA platform. So now moving to next slide, we are having a few recommendations for implementing enterprise IGA. So what we recommend users to choose IGA platform designed with governance at a core. So pick a tool that is built to control access properly and not only add a governance layer or an extra feature that you are not able to manage. Then we have prioritize a continuous role optimization over one-time role mining. So it is very important to have role mining at the initial stage, but you need to again and again revisit it and prioritize it or change the roles based on the people working style and how they are working into the organization, what is their actual roles and responsibilities into the organization. Then we have focus on strong policy-based lifecycle automation. So to make sure joiner, mover, and lever access is automated using clear rules, so access is given and removed on time without manual follow-ups. So focus on all these things like how lifecycle automation can be done, and prefer tool that deliver actionable risk insights and not just the dashboard. So obviously organization should choose an analytical tool that can provide the action, that can provide analytics so that the organization take better actions to reduce those kind of risk that is coming from the identity. Then we have ensure the platform is cloud native and scalable for a hybrid environment. Again, not every IGA platform or IGA vendor is scalable to handle so much of human and non-human identities. So choose a vendor that can handle both on-prem and cloud app and still work well with your assets and system that grows with time. Then we have evaluate strong audibility and compliance support. Again, I'm like repeatedly telling this, that the auditors are becoming strict and they require the entire life cycle to manage it. So choose a vendor who is providing you a strong audibility and providing you the entire path of identity governance, so that your business can become defensible in front of auditors. And then we have select vendor with a clear AI driven roadmap. So as I have mentioned, that AI is impacting this organization, this platform in a much better way, and by automating various tasks, by providing behavioral analysis, risk scores, and providing just-in-time access, all those kind of thing which is driven by AI. So choose your vendor by analyzing what their AI roadmap is. So with this, I would just like to hand the slides over to Paul, and he will provide insights more on how Omada is doing into their IGA platform.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Sophia, and thanks, Anish. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. Pleasure to be here and participating in this QKS review into IGA. So we're talking about roadmap, right? And as we talk about AI and identity, I think it's important, we move beyond potential buzzword bingo and start looking at actual tangible roadmaps through a very practical lens. So if you're looking at IGA today, you've got IGA running, looking to invest in this market, a question you could ask is, can AI help me? What are the business problems that I've got to solve today? What are the challenges? And a great place to start is visibility, right, into the access that's out there in your estate today. The intelligence, like what can you understand using AI, and how can AI help you take action? That's what we want to do. We want to fix the problems. We know we have problems. We want to fix them, and we want advice, right? We don't want AI, not yet, I don't think, to run autonomously on its own. We want it to help us make the right decisions. So most organizations today, they don't suffer from a lack of data, quite the opposite. They suffer from too much data and not enough visibility. Whether you're looking at logs, looking at identity actions, entitlements, roles, it can be overwhelming. So it's our belief, talking to our customers and our partners, that credible AI roadmap starts by first unifying that data, looking at the relationships, and then incorporating real-time signals and historical signals into an operational view that gives you, it's just in a few clicks, or talking to a Gen AI through a natural language interface, the information that you need and the clarity. And then you're looking at intelligence, right? So this is where it truly, AI can really truly make a difference, whether it's machine learning, to group all that data together, to show you the outliers, to show you the trends, or to look at the historical data to say, has this person done this before? Are there other people like Paul that have done this action, right? What are the recommended defensible actions, right? That's the difference between like a shiny dashboard and actual intelligence and actions. Your auditors, your risk teams, these different personas, the business stakeholders, they all need to understand not just that a risk exists, but why it matters in business terms. And importantly, these personas probably don't use an IGA product every day. They probably don't even use it every week. It may be really infrequent access. So user experience is really, really key here, because nobody wants to go to a software tool, no matter what the vendor says, how easy to use it is, and have to relearn the navigation and how to actually use the product. And that's where natural language really comes into into play, the real benefits. And that's what we've got with the Slack and Teams assistant from our Gen AI assistant called Javi. The ability to talk in your own language, right, whatever that language is, to get that intelligence and to make those actions, right? So this is what we want to reinforce with the roadmap, is what are the outcomes that you're looking for, right? And for many people, it's, you know, data quality. It's being able to launch access review campaigns to solve the problem of orphan accounts or third-party accounts, right? And to reduce that blast radius. So that's a start. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So guidance to proof, right? What AI must deliver. And if you look at this slide on the left-hand side, you see AI for IGA today, and you also see identity governance for AI, and that's tomorrow. And that really, it's really indicative of a changing market, right? So yeah, sorry, this slide was just jumping around. So this means for AI for IGA, we want to improve the quality of life for the people that are using IGA. So think of the persona that you operate with mostly when you touch an IGA tool. I think for a lot of end users out there in the business, it's actually requesting access, right? You've joined a new project, or you've got a new mission, you've gone on assignment, or you've changed role, and you need additional access. So being able to leverage AI to find, for example, a meaningful entitlement or a meaningful role. You're in a catalog, and the catalogs are often overwhelming. You know, there could be many entitlements, many options for you. So using AI to filter down the requestable items, or whether you're reviewing access, you know, has a description, has an entitlement, got a proper description. Can you understand what it's doing? This is what AI should be doing quietly in the background. It should be doing the heavy lifting. It should be looking at the data, you know, flagging anomalies, contextualizing that risk, if you like, and proposing defensible decisions. The goal is not to replace humans, it's to make our jobs easier, you know, to allow us to be more confident and to be more consistent in the decisions that we make every day, and to try to remove the bias we have in decisions. You know, if I know somebody I work with, I can be like, yeah, you know, Sophia's a great colleague, I'll approve that access without really looking closely into what's being requested. And then as we pivot over to tomorrow, this is a dimension that's emerging very quickly. You know, we've heard a lot about AI and agentic AI, and this is the identity controls for AI itself, right? Where do they belong? And I don't believe today there's a single discipline or vendor or product that addresses the complete market relating to, you know, identity security for AI. But when we look from an IGA and an Omada perspective, you know, we do see our customers asking us more and more to actually provide an inventory, to provide the discovery of the agents, these co-pilots. And we've all seen the numbers, which are quite staggering as to the actual predicted rise of agents and co-pilots in the business, right? They're going to outnumber humans dramatically, if not already. The agents are effectively new identities, right? And some of the principles of the human side of IGA are absolutely applicable to the agentic side. Like, they need ownership. You need to know where they are, you know, when they're created, who created it, who's the business owner, what's the scope of operation, like what business processes are those agents performing, right? They need accountability. So this is why, you know, an AI ready IGA platform will treat AI agents as first-class identities. You know, you have policies for lifecycle management and controls around for provisioning and deprovisioning around those agents, just like you do for people, but they are fundamentally different to people, right? So governing what data they can touch through infrastructures like MCP, it is challenging. And, you know, this is an evolving place in the market, but identity is the control plane. So as identity expands from people to applications to agents, you know, this governance is the control plane for identity security, and these two worlds are converging as well. More and more, you know, our customers and prospects are asking us not just to look after the life cycle management of people, no matter who those are, externals, internals, contractors, etc., but also agents and non-human identities. And the taxonomy of this world is quite confusing. Some people call them non-human identities, some people call them machine identities, some people say one is a subset of the other, right? To me, the AI agent is its own first-class citizen of identity. And again, the way we look at it here at Omada is that the agentic AIs, they consume some of the types of non-human identity, like accounts, like credentials, like tokens, like API keys. And importantly, people want that visibility and they want it to be real time as far as possible. And that's when we're talking about signals. So if we go to the next slide, please. We want to talk about how we can consume real-time signals. So for many of you that have been in the identity world for some time, IGA has always been like working in the background, responding to events, kind of asynchronous, right? That's a traditional model of IGA. It's been driven largely by scheduled events, like Sophia mentioned earlier, like periodic access review, right? Point in time reports. That made sense when the environments changed slowly, but today, things move so quickly, especially with the rise of agentic AI. So we want to, and this is what we have in our product today, is a recent piece of innovation, is introducing the shared signals, right? The shared signal framework. And this is a shift we're seeing. It's something we're very focused on in the roadmap, consuming real-time risk signals, standards like the shared signals framework that allows Omada to interoperate through open standards with other security tools, without connectors. It's an open way of propagating signals and responding to signals that other software assets have sent in your environment, right? So you look at the opportunity here is to really take advantage of IGA from a real-time kind of threat detection, ITDR perspective, incorporating IGA into your SOC. So when you receive these risk signals, could be from your identity provider, like the example Sophia mentioned earlier. You have a risk signal in your IDP, right? And that propagates out into your fabric, your mesh, and then Omada can respond to that in real time with whatever actions you choose to configure on the workflow, such as raising an access review, notification, suspension of accounts, etc. This is what we call the fabric concept. It's about multiple tools collaborating together around shared standards and, importantly, shared context, right? It's the transaction. So instead of looking at IGA as like a once a quarter tool, it becomes an active participant. Omada becomes an active participant in your real-time security posture. So that's a fundamental change. So if we go to the next slide, please, Anish. So once you're connecting, once you're consuming these signals, the next challenge is how do we make it all understandable, right? How do we make it usable for personas like the auditors and the business owners? So traditionally, when an auditor comes along and says, who had access to this system at this time when an incident occurred, the answer could involve looking at logs, exporting data, a lot of manual correlation. So the opportunity with our roadmap now is to shift from static reports to what we call decision-ready intelligence. And this is where the system can answer to the auditor, for example, real-time audit risk questions in real time themselves without knowledge of the database schema, without having to know SQL, structured query language, and to be able to use an interactive report generator where they can build like that BI report, a business intelligence report, and they can share it, they can export it, and they don't need to be experts in Omada, right? That's really what we've brought to the table here. We're going beyond dashboards, looking at the full graph, the user's roles, the entitlements, and all the relationships and aggregate information within that graph model. So focusing on the outcome to give you the information in real time, to make it as easy as possible, either through the web or through Javi, our natural language assistant, available in Slack or Teams. Okay, so we're trying to improve the user experience using AI to deliver the insights that are often generated from UI. Right? So this becomes the language that like connects the security, the compliance, and the business in real time. So with that, go next slide, please, Anish. And here's a great picture of an open source innovation we have on GitHub right now, which is the MCP. Right, so it's focusing on natural language, focusing on ease of use, and also giving you the intelligence to actually make decisions, right? Reveal access patterns using natural language, and then to take actions, right, to fix the problems that you have quickly, right? Whether that's revoking accounts, building reports, detecting outliers, triggering the request for additional access, or revoking access. We want this to be as easy as possible, remove the friction, and use the tools that you are used to using on your desktop. And as we proceed with our roadmap, we're going to be delivering new tools, new capabilities, new skills through these different interfaces, through the web, through Teams, and through Slack, as part of our ongoing roadmap to try to really encourage the proactive use of IGA. Right. So moving on to the last slide. This is the last piece of the story, please, Anish, if we can get it. Yeah, awesome. So this is the last piece of the story. It really, we want IGA to show up for people in their daily work. It's not a discipline for the security teams solely, right? It's part of the fabric of an organization is to use IT, and IT needs permissions, and IT needs controls. Right, and if AI and this kind of automation only lives in specialist consoles, adoption is going to be limited, and adoption is directly related to the success of your investment in identity. So if we can bring this all together and really use agentic AI and machine learning into the flow of your daily work, then that's a win, right? And that's what Javi from Omada is all about. So imagine you don't have to open a browser and log in, right, and spend time going through a portal, whether that's an IGA portal or an ITSM portal like ServiceNow or Jira. There's many systems on the market. It's challenging for a lot of people, right? So bringing you the context and the intelligence to say, yep, Sophia's got this access. She's got the similar job to you, Paul. We recommend you have the similar access for a similar period of time that's compliant to policy, and will be removed as you change your journey through the organization. As that project closes, that access will be removed. That's a win, right? So on the operations side, from the technical people side, they often have to troubleshoot as well, right? So not the end users, but the technical people, and being able to surface issues and guidance related to the operation of the IGA tool, again using Gen AI, is really quite an accomplishment. It speeds up investigations. It helps monitoring challenges. Like one of the prompts I love we have on the roadmap is, hey Javi, what happened overnight, right? Last thing I want to do in the morning every day at 8:30 when I come into the office is open up dashboards and hunt down problems. I want the IGA tool to proactively tell me, hey, everything's behaving as normal, right? Everything's fine. And if it's not fine, I wanted to recommend fixes based upon similar cases that we've solved together in the past. So, the idea behind the investment here at Omada is to turn a complex problem of identity operations into a seamless conversational guided experience. And with that, Sophia, I'll pass back to yourself and Anish, and I welcome any questions, and thanks for attending today. Thank you.
Anish, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm sorry, guys. So I was just mentioning that thank you, Paul, and thank you, Sophia, for sharing your insights. I'm sure the IGA leaders or the security leaders are better prepared on how to tackle or how to be well prepared for 2026 when it comes to identity and access, or identity governance and access. And a special thanks to Paul for taking us through Omada's roadmap. I'm sure our audience or our viewers are very excited to see what Omada has to offer for the year 2026 and the year ahead. We did receive a couple of questions, and I mean, I don't want to take much of your time, but I'm going to ask straight away, jump to the questions that we have. So the first question we have from our audience is nothing but, so one of them has mentioned that we are still doing periodic access reviews. What's a practical first step to move towards continuous and risk-based identity governance without disrupting operations? So if you would
That's
like
great.
to, yeah, who wants to take this up?
After you, Sophia. After you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the honest answer is don't try to change your whole access review process on the day one. Like, it's better to take step by step approach. So it's better to take a risk check on top of what already you have. Then you can start small and focus on one important area which you want to secure, such as privilege access, or one critical application that you want to secure from not having so much of access into that application. So instead of doing reviews on a fixed schedule, switch it to event-based reviews. Trigger a review when something important has happened, some event has happened, such as a new hire, a role change, or someone is leaving, or someone is getting a higher privilege access, or risky access has been combined with one another. So all this kind of event can be mapped, and here the goal is very simple, is to automatically approve low risk changes and only send high risk cases to the managers or the applications owners to take actions on it. As Paul has mentioned, that we need to provide mitigation, we need to provide a response to those kind of threats that is being coming. So what I think is to start step by step and not to go into the entire thing at once.
Paul, would you like to add something to that?
I think that's great advice. You know, start with a risk-based approach. It's easier to say than to do, because a lot of customers don't have a unified application registry, right? They don't have that up-to-date CMDB, or they may not have a concept of risk. But it's still a great advice. We want to have policy. We want to reduce the amount of work at the end of the day, right? Because nobody likes doing the access review. Nobody. So it's not anybody's kind of like job description to do access reviews, but it's everybody's responsibility to take care of security, particular identity security, and protect your corporate assets, right? All that IP, customer contract information, and the data that your company needs to run. So one of the things we're looking forward to at Omada is this year a concept called smart certification. If you want to know more, then ping us on Omada Identity online on LinkedIn. Ping me at paul.walker@omadaidentity.com. I'll be happy to fill you in. But at the end of the day, we got some pretty good ideas as to how to take the not just the scheduled aspect and make it real time, but also to reduce the amount of work. Now, obviously, we need to talk to the auditors, right? Because at the end of the day, the auditors are the people that sign this off. They're the people that are giving you the stamp to say, yeah, you're compliant with that specification that you're working towards. But yeah, we've got some good innovation coming around smart certifications, and I do believe that we will be successful in not only reducing the amount of work, but making it easier and using AI to help you make the right decision, right? I don't think we're yet ready to delegate everything to AI, but we absolutely want AI to help you and give you the visibility and confidence to do the right thing. So thanks. Back to you, Anish.
So, Paul, talking about AI, the next question comes up, which says that many vendors talk about AI-driven governance, but how can one differentiate between meaningful automation and just enhanced dashboards?
Yeah, that's a good question. It comes back to, I think if I got the question right, it comes back to one of my earlier slides, right? So, dashboards are great to show you, like, for example, role mining, right? And entitlement risk. they're great to give you the visibility, but they've got to allow you to make actions too. And there's got to be recommendations. And this is something that's, we touched on the roadmap earlier for Omada. You can see the issue, but you can't do anything about it. And that's really frustrating in those traditional kind of legacy systems that, we've all used in the past, right? So how AI is helping you, it might give you similar decisions in previous circumstances. Like we came across this last month with this orphan account or with this dormant account, and these are the recommended actions that we can take, and it actually helps you take them rather than just giving you the information and leaving you, high and dry on an island without anywhere to go. So hopefully it answers the question. If it doesn't, ask a different way, or not. Happy to try to answer it again.
Well, I'm
Thank
sure our viewers have got the gist of it, and
Yeah.
you
Thank
did
you.
take a reference of the slides that you just presented.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just take on I'll take on our viewers to our next question, which is nothing but with the rise of AI agents and service accounts, how should organizations rethink governance model for non-human identities? Maybe Sophia, do you think you can answer this question?
Yeah, so as we were talking about human and non-human identities throughout our slides, so yeah, I expect this question. So what kind of basic security rules one can provide to a non-human identity is to give only the access that is truly required or needed, that it should have least privilege access and not much of the privilege access. Use short-term credential when possible, and not the long-term time for those kind of access given to these kind of identities, and keep watching their behavior and analyzing their behavior and providing risk scores to those behavior. And one should also look for things like unexpected API calls that they are making, access slowly increasing over time. They are automatically having more number of access, and sudden spike in data access. Maybe they can access more data from other resources, or they can have those data and utilize it in a other form. So you need to analyze the behavior of these non-human identities. And for AI agents, we can make a clear set of rules and guardrails, like what tool and data they can use, what actions they are allowed to take, and approval step for high impact action, like changing IAM policies or accessing sensitive data, or starting transaction. All those kind of things or activities that is being done by non-human identity should be monitored closely and should be put in rules and guardrails upon, so that it should not deviate from the things that is being allowed by them to do so. So this is what I think is important for governing or managing AI agent or non-human identities.
Paul, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I agree. It's about creating a manifest of what the agent can do. So to me, there's two different scenarios here. One is when an agent is acting on its own, more like an assistant, and the other one is where in an agentic model where the agent's talking to other agents. Because to me, they're quite different. The first, if you think of a manifest like a YAML file with permissions in it, they're the static permissions, and we know I know we're moving to a just-in-time world, and that's great, right? But there's always kind of like some base permissions that people or non-human identities have. They need to be reviewed, and that's your base permissions. But then in real time in the agentic world, through frameworks like MCP, the agents can discover other agents and use their capabilities, and that's where the original designer of the agent may not have perceived what the runtime environment for the agent has actually changed to become, right? So if somebody's created another MCP server in the same environment where the agent is, the agent can then use the tools of the other agent, right? The person that made the developer that made the original agent, probably not even aware of that. It's the person that's deploying it that's changing the landscape, right? So, like Sophia said, understanding, having the policy to manage the runtime interaction of the agent, right? Looking at the logs, looking at what it's doing. If you've got a proxy, an API proxy, a web proxy, a lot of these agents are going to APIs. So do you have a single point where you can look at the logs to the API and correlate using your SIEM back to that agent, right? Can you look at the tokens that are being issued to the agent from your identity provider and build up a picture of what it's doing? Is the agent talking to an IGA product like Omada, requesting access, right? Saying, I need an account on this system. I can't fulfill the intent of the prompt until I have access to SAP. So it's talking to Omada, right? There's a lot of things to come together. I think it is a moving, evolving landscape, and I'd urge the customers to look closely at not. I don't want to be scared off by using agents. I think the productivity gains are huge, right? Of using AI across your business. We just need to make sure that we know what it's supposed to be doing, and we monitor maybe the potential drift of what it's actually doing compared to what it's supposed to be doing, and we have the right controls in place. So back to you, Anish.
Yeah, thank you for answering that, Paul, and thanks for sharing your insights as well, Sophia, on the question. As we're running on the last couple of minutes, I don't want to take much of the question which has been raised up. So to all the unanswered questions, we'll definitely revert back to you via mail. I'll just take one last question which has come up, which is nothing but from a business perspective. How do we measure the ROI of modern IGA beyond just compliance check marks? Who wants to take this up?
I can give you my thoughts.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a great question, because if you don't measure, how can you maintain your budget and the focus on identity security? To start off with, you need a baseline, right? You can't compare unless you've got a before and an after. Many customers, varying different maturity levels, they don't have a baseline because everyone's really busy. It's never been a priority, right? So, for example, how long does it take to offboard somebody from the business, right? You might say immediately, but I pretty much guarantee you it's not immediate. There will be some disconnected systems that may or may not be linked to your SSO identity provider, but there might be some disconnected systems that require manual intervention. So what's the long tail of deprovisioning? If you go to executive management, they probably rightly assume that, if I was to be marched out of the Omada office, that my access will be cut off immediately, right? But the reality is in a lot of organizations, there are disconnected systems that are not attached to IGA for many reasons. So that's one, right? Time to remove access. Another one is time to grant access. If you don't have access to that business application, you're sitting there with wasted, accruing wasted time, right? So you're being paid and you can't work because you can't log in, you can't access that application, you don't have the right permissions, and you're waiting for tickets to be solved. That's another one. Data quality is another one, but again, align it to the business outcomes, right? So what's the risk, right? So for data quality, you can look at dormant accounts, you look at orphan accounts, stale groups. There's many different things, but what I'd say is try to align it to a problem. Don't make problems up. Make it tangible, and align the problems with your, the vision, the cybersecurity vision in your organization, so it's meaningful, and describe it in a way that the executives can understand. Because quite often, we're all guilty of using technical terms, but like, the offboarding, onboarding one, you're wasting time, wasting money, or you're exposing your IP to risk by not removing access in an appropriate time frame. That's often a good place to start. Back to you, Anish.
Very well put across, Paul, and thank you so much, Paul, for answering that in with such insightful, comments on that.
Very welcome. Very welcome.
And with that, I mean, I don't want to take much of your time, and thanks for sharing your last 1 hour to all our audience. And it's such moments where, Paul, Sophia, both of you come together to talk about IGA landscape.
Yeah, real
Is-
pleasure.
Yeah, it's what make our viewers more curious to know more about identity governance and what the market has to offer. And sharing your lights on Omada definitely has put a benchmark over there. And with that, thank you once again who were able to join us today in today's session. And to those who were able to join only in between, we have the entire recording of the session put across on our website. And we'll be soon sending out all the entire recording to all our registrants and or to all our viewers so that you can revert back to the session anytime according to your convenience. At the same time, I want all of you to stay updated to our upcoming webinars on such insightful topics that we have lined up for all of you. In another half an hour, I'm sure Sophia is having another session on AI and attack surfaces and what CISOs must secure, govern, and contain for 2026. So if you're not registered for that yet, do register for the upcoming session. And with that, thank you all once again for joining us. Thank you.
All the best. Bye, everybody.